The rain was merciless that afternoon, the kind that didn't just fall but clung to everything it touched, soaking Alina's thin coat until it felt like another layer of skin. She tightened her grip on the faded envelope in her hand as she stared up at the towering black gates before her. Beyond them, at the end of a long cobblestone driveway framed by ancient oak trees, stood the Harrington estate, a mansion so large it seemed to swallow the gray sky above it. She hesitated. Her reflection in the puddle below her feet looked small, fragile, uninvited. What am I even doing here? She thought, but then she looked again at the old photograph in her envelope, a photo she'd found tucked in her late mother's Bible just 2 weeks earlier. Her mother, Maria, stood smiling in front of this very mansion, dressed in white, sunlight dancing in her hair. It made no sense. Her mother had always told her they had no family, no connections, no past worth remembering. Yet here was proof of something deeper, something hidden. She rang the bell. A few moments later, the iron gates creaked open, and a man in a long black coat appeared. The butler, an older gentleman with silver hair and a measured gaze, looked at her with mild suspicion. "Miss, may I help you?" he asked in a tone that suggested she didn't belong. I need to speak with Mr. Harrington," Alina said, clutching the photo. "It's important." The butler's brows furrowed. "Mr. Harrington doesn't meet with strangers without an appointment." "Please," Alina said quickly. "It's about someone he once knew." Something in her trembling voice softened the man's expression. He studied her for a long moment, then finally nodded. "Wait here." The gates opened wider. Alina stepped onto the gravel driveway, her shoes squelching with each hesitant step. The air smelled of wet leaves and roses. When she reached the grand oak doors, she could almost feel her heart pounding against the wood. Inside, the mansion was like another world, warm, golden, and impossibly vast. Crystal chandeliers sparkled above her, paintings of stern-looking ancestors watched from the walls, and somewhere far off, the notes of a piano echoed faintly. Alina had never seen anything so beautiful, or so intimidating. The butler reappeared. "Mr. Harrington will see you shortly." He led her into a sitting room. The walls were lined with photographs, paintings, and family portraits, generations of wealth and privilege. Alina stood awkwardly near the fireplace, dripping rainwater onto the polished marble floor. And then she saw it. On the staircase landing, surrounded by portraits of strangers, was her mother. Her breath caught in her throat. The frame was ornate, the photo large and perfectly preserved. Her mother, Maria, wearing the same dress from the picture in Alina's envelope, standing in front of the same mansion, smiling that gentle, knowing smile Alina remembered from her childhood. Her knees felt weak. She took a step closer, unable to look away. "No, it can't be." Just then, a deep, steady voice broke the silence. "Can I help you, young lady?" Alina turned sharply. Descending the grand staircase was a tall man in a tailored suit. His silver hair gleamed under the chandelier, his sharp features softened only by the tiredness in his blue eyes. Leonard Harrington, the billionaire everyone in town whispered about. The man who owned half the city. Alina froze, her voice barely above a whisper. "You're Mr. Harrington." "Yes," he said, pausing on the last step. "And you are." She swallowed hard, pointing a trembling hand toward the photograph. "Why is my mother's photo in your house?" The air seemed to thicken. Leonard's confident expression faltered. "Your mother," he said, quietly. "Yes." Alina reached into her bag and pulled out her worn photo, holding it up. "This is her, Maria Sokolova. She died when I was 6. Leonard took a slow step closer, his eyes fixed on the picture in her hand. His face drained of color as if he were staring at a ghost. The glass of whiskey he'd been holding slipped from his hand and shattered on the floor. For a moment, neither spoke. The only sound was the soft crackle of the fireplace in the rain outside. Leonard finally spoke, his voice trembling. "Maria Sokolova." Alina nodded. "My God," he murmured, pressing a hand to his forehead. "It can't be. She was supposed to have died long before that." "Your mother." He looked at the photo again, then back at Alina, studying her face, her eyes, her hair, the way she held herself. There was something hauntingly familiar in her features. "You look just like her," he whispered. Alina's voice cracked. "You knew her. You really knew her." Leonard turned away, his expression a storm of emotions, disbelief, sorrow, guilt. He walked to the window, staring into the rain as if searching for something lost long ago. "I didn't just know her," he said finally. "I loved her." The words hung in the air like a ghost neither could escape. Alina's breath hitched. What are you saying? Leonard turned, his eyes distant. Your mother worked here many years ago. She was an artist's assistant. She had this incredible light about her, gentle, but fierce in her convictions. My family didn't approve of her. They said she was beneath us. I was young, foolish, and didn't fight hard enough to keep her. He paused, his voice breaking. One night, she disappeared. I was told she left on her own. That she wanted nothing more to do with me. I searched for months, but every trail went cold. Eventually, I believed she had moved on, or worse. Alina clutched the photo tighter. She didn't move on. She was raising me, alone. Leonard's face twisted with pain. She had a daughter. I never knew. The silence that followed was unbearable. Alina looked again at the photograph on the wall, her mother smiling, radiant, captured forever in a world that had never been hers. Why would she be here? Alina asked softly. Why would her picture still hang in your house after all these years? Leonard's voice was almost a whisper. Because I never stopped loving her. My father wanted it removed. I refused. That picture is all I had left of her, a reminder of the one person who made this cold place feel alive. Tears welled in Alina's eyes. For years she had blamed fate for her mother's loneliness, their poverty, their endless struggle. Now, for the first time, she saw the outline of a different story, one of love, betrayal, and secrets buried beneath marble floors and golden chandeliers. Leonard took a hesitant step toward her. Please, tell me everything. How did she die? Where did she live? I need to know. But Alina stepped back, confusion and anger swirling in her chest. You had everything, she said, her voice trembling. And we had nothing. She worked herself sick just to keep a roof over our heads. While you lived here, surrounded by her picture like some kind of memory you could afford to keep. Leonard flinched as if she had struck him. I didn't know, he said weakly. If I had known. You didn't want to know, Alina interrupted. That's the truth, isn't it? The thunder rolled outside. For a long time, neither spoke. Finally, Leonard whispered, maybe I didn't deserve to know. But you're here now, and I can't let you leave without making things right. Alina turned toward the door, her heart pounding. She didn't know whether to hate him or believe him. All she knew was that her life, her mother's story, was no longer what she thought it was. As she stepped into the hall, her eyes caught the photo one last time. Her mother's smile seemed almost alive, as if it had been waiting for this moment. The night had been sleepless for both of them. Rain had stopped sometime before dawn, but the air around the Harrington estate still felt heavy with questions left unanswered. Alina sat in the same guest room the butler had prepared for her, though room hardly described it. It was larger than the entire apartment she had shared with her mother growing up. The bed was soft, the curtains velvet, and the chandelier above her cast soft amber light that made the world feel unreal. She hadn't touched the food left on the tray beside her. Her stomach was too twisted in knots. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw her mother's smiling face on the mansion wall, next to the man who claimed to have loved her. When morning came, the butler knocked gently on her door. Mr. Harrington is waiting for you in the dining hall, miss. Alina hesitated, her fingers curling around the edge of the blanket. She didn't want to face him, not yet. But something inside her, perhaps the same stubborn spark that her mother always carried, told her to go. The dining room looked like something out of a dream, tall arched windows spilling gold sunlight over a long table lined with crystal glasses and silverware that looked too expensive to touch. Leonard Harrington sat at the far end, his usual calm demeanor gone, replaced by something softer, almost vulnerable. He rose as she entered. Good morning, Alina. Her voice was cold. You didn't have to keep me here. I didn't want you leaving in the rain, he said. And, there's something you deserve to know. He gestured for her to sit. She remained standing. Leonard sighed and opened a leather-bound journal that lay before him. Its pages were yellowed with age, the edges worn from years of handling. I found this last night, he said quietly. It's my journal, from the year I met your mother. Her breath caught. He flipped the book open. Inside were sketches, dozens of them. Her mother's face, drawn in pencil and charcoal, in every mood and angle. Her laugh, her eyes, the way she'd tilt her head when she painted. It was as if each page breathed with love and regret. She used to paint in the garden, Leonard said, his voice breaking the silence. I was young, arrogant, reckless. But when she looked at me, I wasn't a Harrington. I was just a man. He smiled faintly, though it didn't reach his eyes. My father hated her, said she'd ruin our name. He threatened to cut me off, send her away, destroy her reputation. I thought I could protect her, but I was weak. I hesitated when she needed me most. One night, she came to me crying. She said she couldn't stay here anymore. And then, she vanished. Alina felt a lump rise in her throat. She didn't vanish, she whispered. She ran, because she was pregnant. Leonard's hand froze over the page. Slowly, he lifted his gaze to hers, eyes wide with disbelief. Pregnant, Alina nodded, tears blurring her vision. I was born 2 months after she left this place. She never told me who my father was. She said he was gone, and that it didn't matter. Leonard stood suddenly, pacing across the room, one hand pressed to his chest. All these years, he murmured. I thought she'd abandoned me. My father told me she took money and left for another man. I hated her for it, but I never stopped loving her. He turned back to Alina, his voice cracking. And all that time, you were out there. My daughter. The word hung in the air like a fragile thread, trembling between them. Alina felt her breath hitch. I didn't come here for that, she said quickly. I just wanted to know why her photo was here. Why she lied to me. That's all. Leonard's eyes softened. Maybe she wasn't lying, Alina. Maybe she was protecting you. He sat again, gesturing toward the journal. After she disappeared, I went to the police. My father found out and shut the investigation down. He said if I kept looking, I'd lose everything. I tried anyway, but every door closed. Years later, I learned she had died. It destroyed me. I thought the universe was punishing me for not running away with her. Alina sank into the chair opposite him, feeling her anger slowly shift into something else, confusion, sorrow, pity. She never stopped loving you either, Alina said softly. Even when she was sick, she used to hum this song. I didn't understand then, but last night, when I walked through the hall, I heard your piano playing the same tune. Leonard's face went pale. Her song, he whispered. She wrote it. I used to play it every night after she left. I thought, maybe somehow, she'd hear it. The silence between them grew thick, filled only by the faint ticking of a clock. After a long pause, Leonard spoke again, his tone fragile. Alina, I know I can't erase what you and your mother went through. But I want to make things right, if you'll let me. Her eyes flickered with hesitation. You think money fixes everything? No, he said simply. I think love might. Something in his sincerity pierced through the walls she had built her whole life. For the first time, she saw not the billionaire from the news, but a man haunted by the same ghost she had been chasing. Leonard reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. He opened it to reveal a delicate silver locket. Inside, on one side, was a tiny portrait of Maria, painted decades ago. On the other, a lock of golden hair. She left this behind, he said, placing it gently before Alina. I kept it all these years. I think it belongs to you. Alina picked it up with trembling hands. When she opened it, tears spilled down her cheeks. Her mother's smile looked back at her, younger, radiant, free. She pressed the locket to her chest, and for a moment, she could almost feel her mother's warmth again. Why didn't you find someone else? She asked softly. You could have had a family, a wife, children. Leonard shook his head. There was no one else. After Maria, I couldn't pretend anymore. I built everything I have, but none of it mattered. Not without her. A long silence followed, not awkward, but heavy with unspoken healing. Alina looked out the window. The morning sun was breaking through the clouds, spilling golden light across the gardens her mother once painted. For the first time since she arrived, the mansion didn't feel cold. Finally, she spoke. Maybe it's not too late, for both of us. Leonard smiled faintly. I'd like that. He rose and offered his hand. She hesitated, then placed hers in his. It was warm, steady, the kind of hand she had never known as a child. As they walked toward the grand hall, Leonard stopped by the photograph of Maria. The light from the window touched it gently, illuminating her face. She'd be proud of you, Alina, he said quietly. You're stronger than both of us ever were. Tears filled Alina's eyes again, but this time they weren't from pain, they were from peace. Outside, the garden shimmered with dew. The roses her mother once tended had bloomed again, vibrant and alive. And as father and daughter stood side by side beneath the portrait of the woman who had once united them and torn them apart, the Harrington mansion, once a place of silence and regret, felt like home again. Somewhere deep within the house, the piano began to play the old melody, the song of Maria. And for the first time in decades, Leonard smiled through his tears, knowing that love, though lost once, had finally found its way back.